What is it that makes a zombie a zombie? Is it their lust for brains, their aimless wandering, the psychotic behaviour, or that enchanting scent of decomposition that hangs around them in the air whenever they enter the room? Either way, we've seen all these traits in human beings and animals before, and this means that zombies may not be as fictional as we think. Parasites, mind control, and mysterious forces are all considered possible sources of a real-life outbreak. So, let's take a look at how a zombie apocalypse could really happen. At number 4, parasites. The animal kingdom is full of examples where animals have been taken over by other entities and made to act differently. But what do these things do, and could they ever infect humans? The female jewel wasp is capable of inducing zombie-like tendencies in cockroaches by paralyzing its host and taking control of its body. By targeting the area of the roach's brain which is responsible for movement, the wasp guides the cockroach against its will towards a burrow where she will lay her eggs upon it. Eventually, the wasp larva consumes the cockroach and develops within its abdomen, with the roach having been fully aware and unable to respond throughout the whole ordeal. Other parasitic zombie creators include an ocean snail, which infects fish and causes them to attract the attention of birds to eat them. The horsehair worm that convinces crickets to end their own lives. And there's even a type of Japanese tree frog that turns into a sex zombie when infected by a certain spore. And if I could choose, I think I'd go for that over the brain-eating variety. But these parasites could never infect humans, could they? Surely we'd know about it by now, right? Wrong. The Toxoplasma gondii parasite infects between 22 to 84% of all humans, and this critter can and does affect the way we behave. In some people, it makes them more outgoing, to the point where they end up in more car crashes, and it turns others into introverted shut-ins. So what is there to stop such a parasite mutating and having other adverse effects? And how do we know it doesn't exist already? Number 3. Viruses. To turn something into a feral, snarling beast, all you need to do is make them afraid. And if you want to do that in a swift and efficient manner, you need look no further than the rabies virus. Rabies is capable of avoiding detection by its host's immune system, and it can transform even the most placid creature into a vicious, uncompromising killer. Rabies is spread by dogs and bats mostly, and after a bite, you'll generally start to see symptoms in 1 to 3 months. As the rabies virus self-replicates in your bloodstream, eventually it makes its way towards your nervous system and brain, specifically seeking out the parts that control emotion, memory, and fear. Through manipulation of your cells, the virus will turn your own brain's chemical structure against you. And if left untreated, human rabies patients become hopelessly terrified within a short period of time. The prospect of drinking water frightens the life out of sufferers, and this is because the virus needs your salivary glands to multiply, which is also what drives them to bite people to spread the virus further. Drinking water would reduce the chances of the virus infecting further hosts, so you become frightened at the mere prospect of drinking, even though you're completely parched. If the rabies virus enters clinical stage infection, you are unlikely to survive, since only 10 people have ever done so after going so long without treatment. At this point, your muscles and organs gradually become paralyzed, eventually reaching your heart and lungs, leading to coma and death. Rabies was the cause of genuine zombie-like outbreaks before we learned how to treat it, and thankfully rabies can be vaccinated against today. Even if you're unvaccinated and infected, you still have 10 days to get treatment before you go crazy. But if the rabies virus were to mutate into a faster-acting organism, and if it was to become just a little bit more contagious, this guy could be the source of a real-life zombie outbreak. At 2. Mind control. Parasites and viruses aren't the only way of turning people into zombies, because we humans are pretty good at it ourselves, as anyone familiar with the MK Ultra program will know all too well. MK Ultra was a CIA mind control program which ran from 1953 to 1973, and it investigated how chemicals, treatments, and situations can be used to manipulate the human mind. An MK Ultra document dated from 1955 observed effects such as impulsiveness, brain damage, and confusion being triggered deliberately, as well as pain resistance, psychosis, and a dependence on random people and materials. The last one is especially pertinent, because if you want to create a zombie-like human, all you need to do is convince them they need human flesh to survive, and voila, chow time. This kind of zombie wouldn't be infectious, of course, but you could feasibly put a large number of people into such a state by exposing them to a substance through air, water, or cheeseburger sliders. And you don't even need chemicals to do this either, as a number of famous experiments showing brain-implanted remote-controlled animals have shown. It is believed that we're almost on the cusp of being able to manipulate the brain's electrical signals without having to implant a device, and this could be a complete game-changer for the ideals of free will and self-determination. Our human brains are extremely susceptible to influence. And if anyone ever discovers a way to take advantage of this fact on a grand scale, the sad truth is that human civilization could turn into a zombie race with a simple push of a button. And at number 1, mysterious forces. Parasites, viruses, and illicit substances are all directly linked to real zombie-like behavior. And so, when the cops stumble across a person behaving in this way, these are their first routes of inquiry. "Sir, could you please stop eating that man's buttocks? Please! We need to test you for sobriety." But in many instances of zombie-like behavior, the suspect has turned out to be completely clean of chemical, viral, or parasitic influence. This was the case in 2012, when the infamous Miami cannibal attack took place. Rudy Eugene, who was entirely naked, was filmed beating a homeless man to a pulp and proceeded to eat 80% of the man's face, injuries which he somehow survived. A police officer approached Eugene with his weapon drawn and ordered him to stop, to which the cannibal responded by snarling. Eugene was shot dead by the officer, and in the subsequent investigation there were rumors that his actions had been chemically motivated. However, toxicology reports showed no illicit substances in his system, and this was also true of 19-year-old Austin Haroff, who committed a similar crime in 2016. Austin was found by police ripping and eating chunks of flesh from a couple who he had fatally stabbed, and it took 3 officers to pull him away from his macabre dinner. But Austin as well showed no signs of chemical, viral, or parasitic poisoning, and it remains a mystery as to what caused these men and others to turn into real-life zombies. So those are some realistic ways in which a zombie apocalypse might really happen. But if something like this did kick off, how would it go down? Who would be most at risk? And where should you run to? Well, you can find out exactly what to do in our bonus video, How to Survive a Real Zombie Apocalypse, which you can watch on our Patreon page at patreon.com/strange mysteries. For a $2 a month pledge, which you can cancel at any time, you'll get to watch this and all of our bonus content, which goes deeper and darker into every topic than YouTube allows. If you don't want to donate, then it's cool. We'll still let you in our zombie shelter when the maniacs let loose. And we'll also continue to provide the best content possible under YouTube's restrictions, as you'll find out by watching our recent video on future events nobody alive today will see.